All right, so Kola, the floor is yours, please. You can go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I want to confirm that you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Today, we'll be discussing best practices for cloud security. As organizations continue to adopt cloud technologies, they start to put their data and their infrastructures in the cloud. It's important for us to ensure that security remains a top priority. These are table of content for today. We're doing introduction, talk about key principles of cloud security. We'll dive into cloud security best practices, which are identity and access management, data protection, network security, application security, monitoring and logging, compliance and governance, then data recovery and incident response. We'll continue exploring challenges in cloud security, then tools and services that you can use for cloud security. Then we will go into question and answers. So cloud security is very important for protecting data and services in the cloud. Like I said before, or as we all know, that there is a rapid growth of cloud adoption, which ensures robust security measures. It requires us to get a robust security measures that will help mitigate risk and meet compliance requirements. So we are going to cover key best practices to strengthen cloud security. What are the key principles of cloud security? We have the shared responsibility model. We have zero trust architecture, and we also have encryption everywhere. For shared responsibility model, cloud security is a shared responsibility model between the provider and the customers. So the provider ensures or they secure the infrastructure physically, while the customer is responsible for securing their data and application. What that means is that the provider are responsible for the security of their physical location, their hardware, and all other resources. So it's not the job of a customer to go and secure that their server center for them. But the responsibility of customer or users is that they secure their data and application with technologies and tools that have been provided by the providers or that are available online, whether open source or paid services. Then zero trust is talking about, it's trying to explain to us that threats exist both inside and outside the network. So you need to set up a system that verify every access request and implement least privilege access. Then encryption everywhere is talking about you encrypting everything where in transit or at rest and everywhere possible, so that you can protect sensitive information. By adhering to these key principles, organization can build a robust and comprehensive cloud security strategy to protect their data, applications, and systems. Best practices for cloud security. We have identity and access management, IAM, or some people call it IAM. We have data protection, network security, application security, monitoring and logging, and some others that we still talk about. So basically, let's talk about identity and access management. But we're talking about identity access management. One of the things we need to consider is multi-factor authentication, or some people call it two-factor authentication. This requires multiple verification factors such as password and a one-time code to secure authentication users. I'm sure most of us, or let me say all of us, are familiar with OTP, one-time password, that we are being required for when we want to log into our accounts, whether if you set it up for your social media, they send a one-time password to you when you want to log in. Or let's consider banking system. If you want to use your card to purchase something online, an OTP will be sent to you just to confirm, even though you have imputed your password or card pin. That's still another layer of security to be sure that, okay, this is actually the person that is trying to make use of this service. Another thing to consider here is role-based access control. It is used to implement granular permission, granting users access to only the resources and actions they need to perform their duties. So it's only what you need to access that you are able to give to get access into according to your role. A developer should not get access into some probably some database information unless his or her job requires that particular access. If you are a graphic designer or UI UX designer, you cannot, you may not have access to some privileges that a developer has because of your role. So that is what role-based access control is talking about. Then we need to regularly review and update identity and access policy to address evolving security requirements and prevent vulnerability. Then we need to also consider centralized identity manager. You use a centralized identity provider such as AWS IAM. That is if your resources are deployed on AWS or Azure Active Directory. If you are using Azure for your cloud infrastructure, then we use all this to manage identities and permission across cloud environment. There are others, but these are just examples of centralized identity management. Then the next thing to consider here is data protection. Like I mentioned already, you should consider to encrypt your data at rest and encrypt data in the transit. You should use cloud native tools. Those are tools that are used for cloud protection, and implement some policies. Next on the agenda is network security. We need to consider for us to do network security, to secure our network, you need to consider using VPN and secure gateways. We should implement virtual private networks, which is VPN, to establish secure encrypted connection between your device and the cloud environment. I'm sure we all understand. I mean, we all know, we must have heard about VPN by one way or the other. So utilize secure gateways like AWS Virtual Private Gateway or Azure Virtual Network Gateway to manage and control access to your cloud resources. Then another thing to consider here is network segmentation. You need to consider to divide your cloud network into smaller isolated segments or subnets to limit the spread of threats. The reason why you are doing this is you need to contain the impact of a security incident and restrict unauthorized access to critical resources. So when you segment your network into different subnets, even if a subnet that encloses another subnet is affected, if there is a segmentation, proper segmentation, and this segmentation you might be protected with firewalls or access control. So if there's this segmentation, it's going to prevent that other subnet from being affected by a subnet that's already affected. Yes, like I mentioned, you need to also consider using firewalls and intrusion detection and prevention system, IDS and IPS, just to monitor network activities. This system, they detect anomalies, and they can also automatically block and mitigate identified threats. Then application security. You need to perform regular security testing and then use secure coding practices. Also regularly update dependencies and employ web application firewall. For regular security testing, you need to conduct vulnerability scans, penetration tests, and other security assessment on a regular basis to identify and address potential weakness in your application. I mean, this is part of the things, the steps that we take when we are deploying an application. Then implement secure coding principles, such as input validation. You need to be sure that what is being typed inside on the application interface is the right thing, so that you can prevent SQL injection. So where you're supposed to input numbers, they are not inputting strings. So you prevent SQL and cross-site scripting, SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Then you keep all third-party libraries, frameworks, and other dependencies using your application up to date to address non-security vulnerabilities and ensure your application are protected from the latest threats. I mean, keeping application up to date is very important. Even apart from generally application, even if it's your OS, you need to keep it up to date. Your dependencies for your application, you need to keep them up to date just to address some vulnerability issues. Then you use a web application firewall to protect your application against some web-based attacks, such as the one I mentioned before, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and cross-site request forgery. Then one important part of what we are discussing today is monitoring and logging. Continuous monitoring and logging provide visibility into your cloud environment. Tools such as AWS CloudWatch and Azure Monitor, they help to track activities, to detect anomalies, and send alerts for suspicious behavior. Logging ensures accountability and aids in forensic investigation. So you need to enable logging. You need to implement centralized log management. Monitoring and logging generally, it helps you to monitor your infrastructure in the cloud. Your application in the cloud is going to log access. It's going to keep logs of those that access the application, and also is going to try and analyze the logs for threat detection. Then one of those things we will not fail to mention is compliance and governance. Compliance and governance. It's a very major aspect of cloud security. Organizations must adhere to regulatory standards such as GDPR and HIPAA, that is General Data Protection Regulation, and Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. What this does is to save, for GDPR is to safeguard personal data, obtain consent for data processing, and notify data breaches within 72 hours. That is what the regulation is about. So you need to set it up in such a way that you safeguard personal data. Then you need to obtain consent from the users before you make use of their data. Then if there is any data breach, you need to notify the users too that, oh, your data has been exposed to hacking or whatever the case may be. Okay, another thing that is very important in cloud security is disaster recovery and incident response. Being prepared for potential incidents is very important. It's crucial. So a solid disaster recovery plan, including regular backups and redundancy, they ensure business continuity. An incident response plan outlines the steps to take during a security breach to minimize impact and recover quickly from any threat. The first on this list for disaster recovery and incident response is that we should create comprehensive disaster recovery plan that address potential threat and outline processes for restoring services and data. Also, the next is to regularly test your disaster recovery plans through simulated exercises to ensure they are up to date and effective, followed by you implement automated backup solutions to create secure, reliable backups of your critical data and applications. Then you continuously monitor backup integrity and test the ability to restore data from backups. You train your team on incident response protocols, which includes communication channels, the roles and responsibility of each employee, and mitigation steps for any incident. Then regularly review and update incident response plans to adapt to evolving trends, threats, lessons learned from the past incident, because the hackers, they devise a new way. They devise new ways almost every day. They are always looking for new way to attack your resources. So you need to keep your plans updated according to best practices. Then despite following best practices, challenges still persist. Common issues like misconfiguration, they can expose vulnerabilities, lack of visibility across cloud resources, and the evolving threat landscape requiring constant vigilance and adaptation. You know, if most of the attacks that have happened, according to research, has happened because somebody misconfigured something. a port was exposed or and one application interface was left unprotected. So misconfiguration has always been a big issue. So addressing these challenges requires a proactive and comprehensive approach to cloud security with a focus on continuous monitoring, rapid adaptation, and robust security controls. Cloud security tools and services, I believe I've mentioned some of these things. You can securely manage user identity and access permission across cloud platforms such as AWS, IAM, Azure Active Directory, and Google Cloud IAM. Then for data protection, there is AWS KMS, Azure Key Vault, and Google Cloud Key Management. For monitoring and security, you can gain visibility into your cloud infrastructure and security event with monitoring service like AWS CloudTrail, Azure Security Center, and Google Cloud Security Command Center. There are other tools that you can use for monitoring, like the famous Prometheus and Grafana. These tools and services provide essential security and governance capabilities to protect your cloud infrastructure and data. So that'll be the end of my presentation.
Nice, thank you so much. All
Yes,
right, so before he asks
have
us his questions.
Okay. You can continue.
Sorry, all right, so before he asks us his questions, please, do we have questions to ask? Does anybody have questions to ask? Okay, for me, I think I have a question, and I didn't really capture it, but in one of your slides. So in one of your slides, there was a slide, I don't know if you would like to put it up again. There was a slide where you spoke about the VPN, you spoke about network security. So there was something you mentioned, which was IDS something. Network security. Yes, network security.
Okay.
Yeah, so the ID, yes, okay, the IDS or IPS. We know about firewalls. I know about firewalls. I know about VPN. So speaking about the IDS, IPS, why do we need the extra security one? And to what's the advantage of this IDS or IPS over other security, network security systems? Then my third question is, how do people get the IDS or IPS?
Okay.
Sorry.
IDS, IPS, I think they are being used by cyber security people mostly. So, but then it helps us to secure our cloud infrastructures, our cloud application in the cloud generally. What's your other example? I mean, what? Please, if you can rephrase your question again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. You said they are used by cybersecurity people mostly.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the advantage of it over other network security systems?
It's just one of those tools that you make use of for cloud security. It allows easy tracking and retrieval of some specific data. You know, your firewall may not really capture some information, but these specific tools, they are designed to capture some information. They are designed to protect your infrastructures, to protect your application. So they have their own specific usefulness over firewall and all other ones you mentioned.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much. But since it's used by mostly the cybersecurity people, we cannot have access to it, right? People that are not into cyber things cannot, or it's not necessary.
Not necessary. It's just, I mean, it's just for us capturing those tools that are used in cloud security.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Please, do we have questions? Please, let's ask questions. The essence of KD is to develop our knowledge. That's why it's called knowledge development. So we should be able to know one thing about everything that's going on in the organization. The best way to know is by asking questions, okay? Please ask questions. Does anybody have a question? All right. Okay, please, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, in the absence of no more questions, these are my own questions. I believe you can all see it. The first question here is, what is the shared responsibility model in cloud security? A, the cloud provider is solely responsible for security. B, the customer is solely responsible for security. C, the provider handles physical and infrastructure security while the customer secures their data and applications. D, the customer and provider share responsibility for securing data only. Well, what is the answer?
C.
Okay, Navisa says C, you're right. The second question here is, what is the primary benefit of encrypting data in the cloud? A, it prevents unauthorized access to physical servers. B, it ensures data is inaccessible without the decryption key. C, it speeds up data transfer. Okay, somebody already answered. Antonia, thank you, you are right. The third one is, what is the purpose of an incident response plan in cloud security? A, to prevent users from accessing the cloud platform. B, to provide a structured process for management, for managing security breaches and attacks. C, to ensure all employees know how to use this cloud environment. To regularly update the cloud, that is to regularly update the cloud services. It's only Nafisat and Antonia that are responding to these questions. Where are the others? Anyways, you're right, Antonia, thank you. That will be the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate. I particularly want to say thank you to Kola because he had already sent his slides since, but based on the new updates from our CTO, he had to change his topic and his slides again, and he still met up with his timing. So that's really commendable. Thank you so much. All right, thank you everyone for joining. Most of us will join very early, and we are always taking note of that. Thank you so much. Do have a productive day today.